right, good morning, everyone. So my name is Shelby Lamar. I'm the Associate Director here at the Center for Academic and Faculty Excellence at CGU. So today we are going to be talking about using AI in graduate school. And just to give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to be talking about, we're going to talk about the types of AI, exploring AI tools, academic integrity, and have some Q&A after. And just to tell you a bit about myself, so I'm the associate director here. We cover things like helping people that are planning to go on and be professors, plan out their teaching philosophy statements, their diversity statements, helping professors with course design. We do writing retreats for CGU faculty here. So we have a wide range of services, and obviously we also do webinars on topics that we think are currently important. So we also have 2 more webinars today, one on Zotero at 1 o'clock and having a plan for your semester at 3 o'clock, which I'll also be doing the 3 o'clock one. So feel free to stop by those as well. You can get all that information on our website. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. We will have a period for Q&A at the end. So if you don't mind either putting your questions in the chat if you are going to forget them, or going ahead and holding them till the end. So getting started here. First, we're going to talk about what is AI. So just a few key terms to know so that you can understand basic terminology around AI. So generally, when we talk about AI, we're talking about anything that's simulating human intelligence. So the ability of machines or algorithms to mimic human cognitive functions, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, so that kind of thing. Some of the things that AI is pretty good at is performing tasks that typically require human intervention, like automating tasks like sorting emails to much more complex activities like driving cars. There's also expert systems, so different kinds of AI systems. Expert systems are systems that use a knowledge base of human expertise to solve specific problems within like a particular domain. So they used rule-based logic and are used in fields such as, medical diagnosis, engineering, finance. So one example would be the dendril. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's used in chemistry for molecular structure determination, which has very set rules about how molecules work. Another kind is machine learning. So machine learning is a subset of AI that enables systems to learn from a data set without really being programmed. So it builds algorithms based on a sample of data known as training data to make predictions or decisions without human intervention and human coding in the same way that an expert system has. So this is like spam filters that learn what kind of spam you don't like, predictive analytics, or like recommendation engines, or social media that tells you what you should be watching next. The next is deep learning. So deep learning is a specialized subset of machine learning involving neural networks with many layers. And so these systems are really effective at processing large amounts of data and recognizing complex patterns. So think about image and speech recognition systems, natural language processing, autonomous driving vehicles, things that are very complex and have layers of learning involved. And then the last one that I guess 2 more, natural language processing is a branch of AI focused on interaction between computers and human languages. So this is the one we're probably most all familiar with, like ChatGPT. It involves the ability of machines to understand, interpret, and respond to human language in a meaningful way. So, large translation services, chatbots, those kinds of things. And then finally, robotics. So robotics involves design, construction, operation, use of robots that are autonomous or semi-autonomous, like based on sensor data that can like move around. So this might be industrial robots, autonomous drones, a Roomba, for instance. So those are kind of the big ideas and languages that'll kind of help you think about different types of AI. And it's important that we understand what we mean when we're speaking about AI, because a lot of people will just mean the chatbots, but it's actually much older technology and a technology that's being used in hundreds of fields right now. So next, there are three main types of AI. So we're generally going to be talking about is generative AI. This is what most people right now are talking about. So this is the AI which is capable of generating new content like images or text in response to a prompt. And it's referencing a large database. So this is going to be your ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those kinds of AIs that most people are talking about when they say AI. But there's also narrow AI. So AI designed for a specific task. So for instance, Grammarly uses more of a narrow AI, not so much for facts and generating images and stuff, but instead focused on rules of grammar. So that's kind of a narrower AI. And then there's general AI. This actually doesn't exist yet. It's one of the things that people are excited and scared of. It's this theoretical ability to perform any kind of intellectual task that a human can do. So it's like a true intelligent AI. And it doesn't exist that we all know of yet in society. So what we're really going to be speaking about generally or mostly is this generative AI. Okay, so next, why does AI matter in graduate school? Well, first off, AI is becoming increasingly significant in graduate education, especially in research-intensive fields. It's across multiple dimensions and fields. It's impacting research methodologies, practical applications, really like enabling us to look at vast data sets really quickly and accurately if you know how to use it. It's impacting fields like economics, biology, social sciences, and machine learning algorithms are really able to uncover patterns that might be unable to be detected using traditional methods because data sets are too large. It's helping with, literature reviews, finding papers, even things like at that level of just the basic research. It's also used in, simulations, modeling, making predictions in physics, engineering, environmental sciences. And it's can really help with the costly or time-consuming physical experiments in some fields. It also has interdisciplinary applications. So, bridging gaps between computer science and data science, engineering, biology, and humanities. So it's really opening up opportunities to apply computational techniques to each discipline in graduate school. So natural language processing for linguistics, predictive modeling for healthcare research, really being able to cross those boundaries. That's really important here at CGU with especially our transdisciplinary studies focus. Next is similarly kind of efficiency and productivity. So automating time-consuming tasks like transcription, data entry, and some aspects of like coding so that you can focus on things that are more important to your learning. Not that those things aren't important, but like transcription's not a huge skill that's going to be needed in the future. So why not focus more of your time on, coding those transcripts instead of just copying them down? There's also things like skill development and career preparation. So as AI becomes more prevalent across all these industries, having AI skills is going to be very important to have a competitive edge in the job market. So understanding technologies like machine learning, natural language processing, is really going to be helpful even in non-technical fields, because these are being adopted in most fields in industries now. It's also important for critical thinking and ethical considerations. So, thinking about bias in the algorithms, social impacts of automation, and collecting these data sets. And this really gets us using our critical thinking skills and prepares us to really be able to debate and have these discussions about policy and technology's role in society. Next, kind of similarly, is new research frontiers. So enabling the exploration of questions that weren't feasible before. So complex data sets, social media interactions can be looked at across vast quantities now that we weren't able to do before, and novel research insights, for instance. So there's also new emerging fields like computational biology, AI ethics. It's also impacting digital humanities, and really all of these new research frontiers that are coming out of all of our departments. It can also help with accessibility and inclusivity, so enabling remote access to things that might not be locally available, whether you're going somewhere else to do research or you're here and need to access something. It can really help students with disabilities or providing, more equitable access to educational resources and opportunities. um, really thinking about ethical literacy and responsibility is going to be a huge part of being, educators, academics, and going into professional fields. Understanding what AI means for society, what it means ethically to grapple with questions about privacy, bias, fairness, transparency, and accountability in these AI systems. As future researchers, developers, policymakers, we are at the forefront of designing and implementing AI technologies that should be focused on ethical design. So minimizing that bias, ensuring fairness, respecting user privacy, all of that responsibility really starts here in academia to really understand, question, and move the needle on these issues. Um, there's also policy and governance. For those in policy, we have the opportunity to really influence how AI is used, how it's legally understood, and how it develops globally here and here in the United States. So we need to even think about the global implications of AI, how it's affecting marginalized communities, international relations, economic disparities. So really, we have this chance to study and think about these issues deeply, like how AI can be used to address rather than make problems worse. So how can we use AI to solve problems instead of making things worse? Um, social impact and public engagement, all of these are going to be important factors. Okay, so now after I'm done telling you about why you should care about AI in graduate school, let's do a bit of the fun part, which is exploring AI tools for graduate schools. I'm going to go over some tools for research and data, writing and editing, and then time management. And this is just a brief overview. There are much more tools than what I'm going to show you, but these are the ones that either I have used or think are most impactful. And don't feel like you have to write all this down, because at the end, I'm going to put in the chat with the link to each of these. So don't panic and write everything down right now. I'm going to share the links at the end. So for research and data analytics, again, this isn't a complete list, but these are the ones that I think are the most functional right now. And these do, we're seeing huge updates to these and new tools keep coming out, but these are the ones that I think would be most useful to graduate students. So the first is Research Rabbit. This is a tool designed to assist us in discovering and exploring academic papers, and allows you to visualize connections between the papers, authors, and concepts. So you can select a paper and it'll give you a web of everyone who has cited it, or you can select it who has it cited. You can turn it into a timeline of like when each paper that is connected to that paper was written. And then you can just keep going deeper and deeper. And it really gives you this nice visual, but also exploration that isn't available when you just do a general search of terms. So sometimes when we do search terms, you might not think about this other term that could be really important. But Research Rabbit is good at being like, hey, this is one that you should consider because it's in discussion with all these others. And if you're going to teach students, if you're an adjunct somewhere, you're teaching students, this can be a really great tool to help them learn how to think about how academic papers are talking to each other. I think a lot of times students really think like, oh, it's just one paper, but we need to be learning an entire field and what discussion is happening around an issue or a topic. And so this really gives that nice big visual and lets you explore in a way that helps you understand the interconnectedness of all of these papers and the timeline and how stuff develops. So it's one of my favorites. It's really in that stage of when you're kind of looking around and really wanting to make sure you're not missing any impactful articles or even searching around like, what do I want to write my dissertation on? And you can really get in there and play. It's really nice. There's also Elicit. It's a research assistant that helps with literature reviews and systematic reviews. It's natural language processing to help you find, summarize, and synthesize research. So papers that have like specific research questions, and then it can give like the outcomes. So it's a really high overview of papers. I wouldn't use this to really deeply analyze those papers, but if you're really at that like literature review stage where you're just trying to get a feel for everything, Elicit is a good way to do that. Next is Perplexity. So this is kind of like Google on steroids. So it's a search engine and it uses large language models to answer directly the questions that you put in. So instead of giving you like a bunch of links to kind of click and go through, it'll actually pull text from a bunch of different places, put it on the screen that actually answers your question, and it gives you a link to where it found that particular answer. So it might give you 10 answers to the question and then the links for you to go check it out. So you're not just blindly trusting that it gave you the right information either. So it allows you to kind of get an answer to a question and then how you can go deeper in those questions. Next is Semantic Scholar. So this is a free academic search engine, and it helps researchers find relevant paper, understand trends in literature, and kind of see connections between different research areas. I haven't used this one very much because I like Research Rabbit a bit better, but it also has kind of filtering options and citation graphs, kind of like Research Rabbit. So kind of maybe play with both of those and see which one you like better. Okay, something that's just a little bit different is Maestra is a transcription tool. So any of you that are doing interviews, if you are doing focus groups, if you are in a meeting, you can have this Maestra record it, turn it into a text-based thing. So you can even use it for, meetings, interviews, things like that. It offers pretty accurate transcriptions. It can also do translation. It can do captioning for videos and analyze some of the spoken content. So it is a paid function, but it's a pretty good service for a variety of tasks that you might be interested in. Atlas TI, there's also in vivo, I believe, but Atlas TI is a qualitative data analysis software. So it analyzes complex textual, graphic, audio, video data. So it helps you code that data, identify themes, and generate insights from large data sets. So it's really great if you're doing qualitative data with a lot of text. Next is Zotero, one of my favorites. And again, we are having a webinar on this at 1 o'clock. That's how important this tool is. It is a free open source reference management tool. And I always suggest to graduate students, start using Zotero right away. You know, if skip out on the other things if you really want to, but make sure you're using Zotero, especially for those new graduate students coming in. This helps you collect your research, organize it, cite it, put the bibliography information in your papers automatically, and you can pull papers from websites and download them automatically, and really helps you organize and streamline the citation process. Citation management is so important in graduate school. You know, when you go on to write your master's thesis or your dissertations, you might have hundreds of citations, and making sure those are all correctly referenced and that you're not plagiarizing and everything is really important. So I always suggest Zotero, and check out our webinar at 1 for details on how to use that. Okay, next, writing and editing tools. Not as many writing and editing tools that I would suggest, but here's 3. So first is Claude, and this is the one I would suggest for large writing projects. So it's a conversational agent, so you know, you put in a prompt and you get things back. But it's really great at if you want to upload a text or a document and say, how can I improve this? Claude is really good at explaining how, you know, maybe your topic sentences need to be stronger. Maybe you're not explaining an idea well. So Claude is very good at doing that. And then there's also ChatGPT, which is similar. ChatGPT and Claude are both good systems, but I think Claude is better at helping with writing without like completely rewriting your text. You don't want Claude to go in and rewrite your whole essay. You want it to explain how it could be better. That way you get to be a better writer. And then finally, Grammarly. So this is something that can help your grammar and your tone and things like that. They have a free version and a paid version. And when you turn it on, it can help across all your computer systems. So, you know, your email, when you're writing in Microsoft Word, or when you're in PowerPoint. So it can kind of go across all of those systems on your computer. I personally use Claude if I have something that I need to improve my writing on, or Grammarly as well. ChatGPT, I think, is a bit better if you have like questions or things brainstorming, but I think Claude for writing for sure. All right, next is time management and productivity tools. So these are a little bit all over the place. And again, not a list covering everything. I couldn't do that in 1 hour, but these are the ones that I think are nice and that I think can really help give you a strong foundation going in to starting the semester. So first is like Trello or Asana. These are project management tools to like organize your tasks, set deadlines, and you can also collaborate across teams. I don't use these as much, but I used to use Trello. Right now I'm using Teams because that's what the university uses. But if I was going to go outside the university system, I would use Trello or Asana. Next is Notion. So I don't know if any of you ever used Evernote. This is like the next iteration of kind of Evernote, but it's a workspace where you can take notes, manage projects, kind of organize your thoughts, and it has AI-driven suggestions built in. I think they have free versions and paid versions as well. Next is Rescue Time. So for time management, this AI tool tracks how you time on your computer and offers insights how to improve your productivity. So this can be useful in several ways. So if you're writing a paper, this can really track how much time you're actually writing versus how much time you're, you know, on Twitter, or what is it, X, or how much you're, you know, doing your reading. So it really gives you a good idea of like, actually, you've only worked about an hour on your writing. Not that it's like trying to guilt you, but it gives you a good, accurate, like, oh, this is actually where I'm spending my time. Or it can also be a good way to track how long, you know, writing takes you. So you can see how much time did I spend in the last 2 weeks writing that paper. And it can give you a good idea for next time you write a paper, how much time you need to set aside to get that done. So it can be used in several different ways. Okay, a personal favorite. Some people love this, some people hate this. This is Cold Turkey. It blocks websites games, applications, anything that you ask it to block, and on your computer. So you kind of set it on a schedule and say, like, for instance, from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, I don't want to look at any social media. I don't want to see any shopping websites. I don't want any games to turn on my computer. And you set it, and then you can't turn it off. And so, like, it really prevents you from doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing when you want to. So you turn this on when you have a lot of self-control and motivation. So later when it hits 1 o'clock and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, you have nothing else to do on the computer. So you're just drawn back into your work. And you could always pull your phone out, but to me, that really signals I'm not actually working anymore if I'm not at the computer. So, I mean, that's fine, but like to me, I can't lie to myself anymore if I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go to Amazon and shop for 5 minutes or something. It really prevents me from like thinking that I'm still being really productive. So these are, and cold turkey is like a buy once kind of thing. The others are subscription services. So, okay. Next, let's talk about maintaining academic integrity in graduate school. So we're going to talk about academic integrity, general guidelines, and then we're going to do some case studies together for us to think through how some of these things might work. So why does academic integrity matter? Sometimes this is really obvious, but I think really thinking through this is an important way to keep everyone motivated and on the same page. So first, it preserves the value of your degree. So when you maintain high standards, you ensure that your degree truly reflects your hard work and expertise and doesn't devalue your degree. And so as we all do that, that ensures that when we leave, we actually have the skills and knowledge that the degree says we have. Next is ensuring fair assessment. So it allows your professors to, accurately evaluate your knowledge and skills so that you're being assessed on those instead of what some other system knows. And if you don't have a fair assessment of your skills and knowledge, then you're not actually going to know where your weaknesses is so you can improve them. Next, it's kind of similarly to your degree, but it upholds our institutional reputation. So your actions contribute to the standing of our university in the academic community. If a university becomes widely known for cheating or has cheating scandals, that kind of thing, it really hurts everyone at the institution and the degree that you hold from the institution. Next, it prepares you for ethical professional practice. So the habits that you're using now are going to shape your future career. So, maintaining good academic integrity is important now because that's what you're going to have in the future. And you need these skills to take them into your professional career. Next is, I don't like to talk about this, but academic reprimands for using when you don't follow academic integrity. So, it might be failing an assignment, expulsion, and long-lasting impacts on your reputation academically and professionally. And no one wants to have that happen. Last is that this is something that I think people don't think about as often because AI is getting so much better, but you need to do more and be better than the AI in your field. So AI systems are generalists, right? They're really good at recognizing patterns, or they're good at helping with grammar. But you need to be a specialist. You need to write better than AI. You can use AI to help you learn how to write better, but ultimately you want to be better than the AI in your field because we want to have those positions and jobs that no matter what the AI can do, we can do it better. And so our skills and knowledge are going to be more important than whatever AI comes up with. And so this reminds me of a paper I read recently where they did a study on, this was writers in a corporate setting, but the writers they divided them into 3 stages. So these were people that had just started their jobs, people that were middling, like they were average at their jobs, and then they had those that really excelled at their jobs. And these were writing jobs. And they said, okay, we want you all to use AI. And then we're going to come back and see how good you are. So those that were really beginners, it helped them to become average. Those that were already average, it didn't really change the how well they were writing. And then using AI actually hurt those that were expert writers. So what we can see from that is that AI can help you become average, helping you learn if you're a beginner, that kind of thing. But AI can't take you from average to exceptional. And that's what we're trying to do here at graduate school, is move from that average to exceptional. And we want to use AI to help us, but ultimately we need to be better than the AI. So those are some ideas about why integrity matters. And here's some just considerations for AI use. And I'm not telling you not to use AI. This is an important, I mean, I like AI, but these are important things to think about when you are using it. So making sure you properly attribute whatever comes out of AI. So if you're using it to generate content or brainstorm or whatever, make sure if you're using it, it's some of its text that you're properly citing it. MLA, APA, Chicago all have ways of citing things that come out of AI. So be sure to do that. And because especially if you don't do that and it's accidentally pulled text from somewhere and you don't realize it, you could be plagiarizing. So making sure you have that proper attribution. So like I said, unintentional plagiarism. So sometimes we don't know, well, not sometimes, we always don't know where the AI is pulling things from. So you might accidentally, pull text from a New York Times article, for instance, and someone's like, "Hey, you've plagiarized from the New York Times," and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know." But what really happened is you used AI and then didn't cite the AI, and so you have uh, committed plagiarism. Um, Making sure that when you use AI, you're getting help and not cheating. This can be a fine line, but always ask your professor, like, how much you can use it for each assignment. So different professors have different ideas. Some people are like, go for it, use AI however you want. Some professors are, I want you to use it on this assignment, but not this assignment. So really just have an open conversation with them about like, hey, this is kind of how I'm using it. Does that sound good to you? And this is all based on what they're trying to assess you on, like what skills. They might not care if you have AI help you make a PowerPoint because they care about the content. They don't care like how it looks with images and stuff. But another professor might want to see your skills in designing, a PowerPoint slide. And so they don't want you to use it there. So just making sure that you're very clear with your professors and what you would like to do. So just be transparent about that. So if you have used AI in an assignment, make sure that you're clear about that. Be transparent if there's something, you want to use or you think might be kind of on the line. It's always better to have those conversations beforehand with your professors rather than after. Like I said before, cite AI content. There's also when you go to publish in academic journals, some will have specific ways they want you to cite the content as well. They might want you to like share the entire conversation. They might say just put brackets around it. So just be aware that there's different ways to cite AI content. And then use AI tools for like brainstorming, use it for research, use it as a writing consultant, but not as a replacement for your work. This is really where that line kind of is. We're not saying that AI work is ours. We're not claiming that if AI writes a paragraph, that's our paragraph. But we can use it as a tool to help us brainstorm, to help us think through things, to help us, create images, those kinds of things. But it's not a replacement for the work on your own because that's where our learning happens, is that work. So AI can be a helper, it can be a tool, but it's not a replacement. We also need to be aware of the limitations and potential biases that are in these tools. So, it can have political biases, the data set can be biased, it can also hallucinate. And so if you use something like AI, in some manner in your research, in your writing, whatever, you are on the hook for that, right? So if it tells you something that's not true and you decide to use it, that's ultimately your responsibility. And so you need to be aware of that and fact check your AI. Um, there was a recent study that came out that if the information could be found on Wikipedia, that ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini were all very accurate. However, if the information could not be found on Wikipedia, they hallucinated 35% of the time. So they made mistakes 35% of the time if it was like expert content. So since we're trying to be experts here, I would recommend fact checking and not getting your data and information from AI. Use it as a tool, but not as where you're getting your information. So you need to critically evaluate the content that's coming out of it. Okay. So just to reiterate, make sure you always cite AI tools where appropriate, just like any other source. So if you make a PowerPoint and it's designed by AI, at the end you need to say, I used, what is one that does PowerPoints? Gamma AI to make the images and outline of the images and arrange things. Excuse me. Avoid over-reliance. So again, use AI to enhance your work, but not do the work for you. There's a big difference between those two. And next, be aware of the course policies on AI. Each course and each professor has different ideas about how they want you to use AI. So just be sure that you align with those so that you don't cross any ethical boundaries, right? All right. So this is going to be part of the fun thing we're going to do. If you don't mind, you can unmute or you can put in the chat, but we're going to work through a couple case studies, and I want you to really think about whether you think it would be a academic integrity issue or not. Okay. So first, should you use AI to generate writing? What do you think? There's no like right or wrong. We're just kind of practicing here.
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, I think for this one, it would be an integrity issue, right? Yeah. So if you're just putting in text and saying, please write a paragraph on airplane technology for me, and then you turn it in, that's going to be an ethical issue, right? However, if you're using it to generate something that is just going to be a brainstorming thing for you and then you don't turn it in, that would be okay, right? Potentially. So it's really thinking about the implications of this, right? Are you passing the work off as your own, or are you using it as a helper? So those are the yeah. Sarah says, having it set up a template for you. Yeah, that would be okay, right? Potentially using it as a template, but the content is your own. So great. Okay. What about analyzing data? Would that be an ethical issue? I got one no.
We took I took the seminar yesterday on ChatGPT 4.0, and the professor was, I didn't know ChatGPT can do that, but I thought that was a great tool to analyze data and show results and charts and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. They're pretty good at making charts and things. So, again, but I would say this depends, right? So, if the point of the assignment is to teach you how to do the data analysis, I would say that is an academic integrity issue. However, if you're using something like SPSS to analyze a statistical tool, right? That's fine, right? Or if you're using ChatGPT to help you make a chart based on that data, I think that's generally fine if your professor's okay with it. This is where the line gets blurry, right? Is what is the point of the assignment, and what skills are you potentially not practicing? So have you already taken are you in a statistics class? Then it might be a boundary that you're crossing if you're having the AI do the statistical analysis for you. However, if you're writing your dissertation and you are very clear with your professor, like, I'm going to have the AI do this for me and see what it comes up with, maybe that's okay. And so what I'm trying to get across here is that there's no complete right answer to these general questions, right? We really have to look at the particulars. What are you working on? Are you saying it's yours? Is it a skill that you need to practice in the first place, and so you're losing out on that learning? Or is this going to be a quick way for you to make progress on bigger parts that you already know how to do the statistical analysis of, and you just need to move on to the more important parts that's, thinking and analyzing what this means, right? So we need to really think about, what skill am I potentially not learning or not practicing when I use the AI? Or like, is the AI enhancing what I can do? So it's very, like, we really need to think about it, to make sure that you're not having an academic integrity issues. And again, always talk to your professor. Just ask. They would much rather you ask and be upfront with it, because then they can have a great conversation with you about it. And they might not even know what AI can do in a particular case. And then you've taught your professor something, right? But they might know what it can do. And then if you don't ask, you've plagiarized something, or you've had an academic integrity issue. So what about generate a PowerPoint deck? When do you think you could generate a PowerPoint deck and it's okay? And when would it not be okay? So what I would suggest is that if you have a presentation for a class, and the presentation is you're reporting your research that you've already done, and the research is the central point of your presentation, I might say that that's okay if it helps you generate images and puts all your research in a pretty format. But if the professor is seeing how well you can design a presentation, then I would say no, you shouldn't be using the AI, because they want to see that you can design the deck, right? Is that a learn, but most professors would say however you can present it is great. However, if you're using like Gamma AI and saying, do a presentation on, like I said, airplane dynamics or whatever, and it writes the whole presentation for you, that's a problem, because you're passing that work off as your own. But if you have it make images for you and make your PowerPoints pretty, but you've given the content, you're not passing that off as your own, right? And at the end, again, always have a little slide that says, I had Gamma AI help me with the images and formatting of these slides. Just be upfront about it, and no one's gonna be, or generally no one's gonna be upset. They're gonna be like, wow, how did you get it to help you do that? I need that for my lectures, so that it can help me do slides faster. Because let's be real, like, the skill of generating slides it's a great skill to have. Yeah, it's not a PowerPoint training class, right? It's a class about how well can you present the information? How do you make the content that you're coming up with? Those kind of things. So really think about what skills you're learning and practicing versus what skills you can spend more time on. That's really what I get out of AI. Is AI can help me spend more time on the skills that I really want to practice, and maybe skip some of these that I don't think are as important. But you need to think about, do you have those skills in the first place, or do you need to acquire them, right? So and we can just kind of go through the rest of these because we're starting to run out of time, but record group meeting notes. This could actually be really helpful if you're doing like a group project and you want to like have the discussion recorded, for instance, and then have it say like, here's the next steps y'all discussed, and everyone gets the email, right? But everyone needs to consent. When you're recording, you need to let everyone know. Just like when I started this, I said I'm going to turn on the recording. There's a little recording button at the top. Everyone needs to know it's being recorded. Get your professor's permission if you want to record something in class, because it's their content. It belongs to them. And so you need to get their consent if you're doing it. It can be useful to have a transcript of a class or something like that. But again, you need to get permission and consent from everyone involved. Next is summarizing articles. So again, I would say, like, are you having it summarize articles because you're trying to figure out which articles you're going to use for a paper, or are you having it summarize articles for your literature review? I would say that's a no, right? You need to be writing those summaries for your literature review. And also, you don't want to rely on trusting the AI to do that for you either. But if you're just looking through and saying, like, oh, these look like interesting articles, do they pertain to my dissertation? Maybe have them summarize it real quick, and then you can decide whether you're going to go in and read them and do the summarizing yourself, right? So there's a line there of, like, what are you using it for? What skills are you developing? Things like that. Okay. And then finding articles. To me, I would say feel free to use AI to find any articles you can, because that's just a search function. But again, like, um, it's important to know that the Claremont Library has a greater amount of articles and research available through the old-fashioned searching than any AI system right now has. So if you use Research Rabbit and something like that, which I do enjoy, they don't have as many articles available as the actual library. So it can be a good place to start to, like, brainstorm and collect things, but you always need to back that up with a thorough search in the library, because we have access to much more than those AI systems. So that, again, this is my opinion. If your professor is teaching you how to do library searches, don't use the AI, right? But if it's just finding articles and things like that, uh, get your feet wet in the AI world, see how those things work, and then you can take your big spread of ideas and articles to a deeper library search. All right. So, again, just to reiterate, think about what skills you need to practice. Think about what you might be missing if you use AI, what practices you might be missing, or what learning you might be missing. Okay, next, questions and answers. So before we actually get into the questions and answers, I'm going to post all of those tools and the links in the chat so that you can have them. Let me put that in. I'm also going to, if you don't mind, launch a poll just to tell me, how I did. This is all anonymous, so I won't know, but it'll help me in the future when I do these to kind of see how it went. All right. Next is questions. So anything on tools, ethical concerns, anything kind of related to AI in graduate school, I'm happy to discuss with you all. You can ask each other questions. Yeah, Jacqueline?
Hi. So I didn't attend the Chat GPT yesterday, but do you think it's beneficial to pay for the Chat GPT Plus, or you could just use a regular Chat GPT?
Great question. I do like paying for one AI system, but I am not loyal to any one AI system. So the two that I like the best are Claude or ChatGPT. Again, if I'm doing a lot of, sometimes I switch back month by month because it's a monthly subscription service. But if I'm doing a lot of writing, I'll probably, like, have Claude for the month. If I'm doing a lot of analysis, I would pick ChatGPT. However, they keep one-upping each other, and Claude now has this function in the Pro function where it will actually write code and test code in the sidebar for you as you're doing it. So that can be pretty cool too. So I'm on Team Claude right now, but to answer your question, yes, I think having a pro account either with ChatGPT or Claude is what I would go with right now. They're about $20 a month, so not too hefty. but I do think it's worth it because you'll get better answers, faster results, and you don't have a cap, or at least a much higher cap in how many questions you can ask. Any scenarios of you're wondering whether it's academic plagiarism or not? Any questions about the tools?
Hi, I'm Lori McLaughlin. Um, I'm thinking about returning to teaching accounting online, and and it seems like it might be a good tool to use Chat GPT, and show the students how to use it, and it might help them like work, if they're doing a bank reconciliation report. It might help them see the steps and follow through and do it, especially if it's interactive and asking them questions as it. So I'm trying to look at how to do that.
Yes, that is something that a lot of students are saying is really useful, is having Claude or ChatGPT be a tutor for them. So for instance, if you're in a stats class, you can ask ChatGPT, explain multiple regressions to me, and that it can explain it. And they're finding that actually students like it because they can ask really, and I'm putting quotes, stupid questions and not feel embarrassed in class, to be like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 9 years old. And so they might be embarrassed to say something like that in class, but they can say like, okay, give me another example, give me an example problem, help me run through it, did I do it correctly? And they're also doing these in studies, they've said that most students are using these systems between 9 and 11 o'clock, when most professors are unreachable, and that's when they're doing their homework. So they're kind of using it, these as tutors to help them, learn math steps, to help them prepare for quizzes. You can say like, hey, I'm taking a quiz on, US history from 1950 to 1960. Give me some practice questions and then evaluate my answers. So they're using them as tutors, which is really nice, especially for those students that are in, might not have economic equality to access traditional tutoring, right? And so we're seeing that in some ways it can level the playing field for tutoring services, but also you have students then that can't access the AI tools at all. So it's another level of inequality as well. So I guess that was a long answer to yes, I think it would be great for your students to learn how ChatGPT or Claude, and how it could help them learn through practice problems, having it explain things. But there is always a risk that it will hallucinate, and make up something. So one of the things professors can do is say, if you catch ChatGPT in a mistake, you get extra points. Bring it, copy and paste it, bring it to me, and you get extra points in the class if you can prove that it was wrong. So that can be a way to also train them to double check the AI and not always trust it.
Yeah, the second thing I was thinking is, in accounting, I always assign them a project for the term on how to invest in a certain company. And so I got a book on using ChatGPT to help you with investments. And so I'm thinking just to say to the students, they could choose a project where they invest a certain amount of money in a variety of investment directions, and then see how they do what during the semester, whether they make money or not.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the classes that are integrating AI and AI skills in them and into the courses themselves are really great for students, because they're learning not only the skills of that field, but they're also learning how AI is impacting their fields. They're learning how to interact with it, in ways that are appropriate for their field, and citation and all of that stuff. So I think that it's great to integrate those into classes.
Yeah, I like the feature where you can submit your document, like say even your resume, and ask it to evaluate or improve it.
Mhm.
And I like your comment. You said accept the fact that they're going to be using it. So let's get it all out on the open and about how to do it.
Yeah, in the surveys recently, there's 65% of students are using AI, you know, and so as professors, it's good to acknowledge that, and we need to be teaching them how to use it. We need to teach them when it's appropriate, when it's not. We need to teach them the skills because they're going to be using it when they go into industry or practice or whatever, because it's everywhere. Like when I was talking about what AI is, we think about ChatGPT and Claude, but we're often not thinking about all the ways that it's being used. I mean, even this Zoom call is being transcribed by AI, right? As we speak. So it's in everything. It's more accessible because of like ChatGPT and Claude, but it's really already become a huge part of our lives.
Yeah, your presentation has been very thorough. I appreciate all your information.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. And again, a reminder, we have a 1 o'clock Zotero presentation, so do check that out. A very, very useful and free tool that can help organize your research, help you with citations, things like that. And then I'll be back on at 3 doing how to make a semester plan or a plan for the semester. So if you're interested in kind of setting yourself up for the upcoming semester, join me at 3 o'clock again. So thank you all. I'll stay on if you have any questions or comments, but thank you all for attending, and check out our website too if you are interested in anything having to do with faculty life, becoming faculty in the future, anything like that.